This time we'll call the Tuesday, August 9th, 2022 meeting of the Jackson County Board of Supervisors to order. Larry McDevitt, Mike Steinis, and myself, Jack Willie, are the supervisors. We have Lisa Smith and Bjorn Beck from the auditor's office. Luann is a little under the weather today, so she's not here. And the first item on our agenda this morning is opening bids for tree removal and stump grindings at the Codfish Hollow Cemetery.
I do have them this morning. So the first bid this morning is for Steinis Tree Service. Steinis Tree Service for the Codfish Hollow Cemetery bid $1,990. $1,990.
How many trees is that?
It's 4 trees and a lot of brush removal and trimming all of the trees up so that they can be mowed under.
All right.
So it's more brush removal than it is a lot of trees.
Okay. Okay.
Even
The second bid I have here is from Kerry Custis. He is from Clinton. So this to remove all designated trees, brush, stumps, tree branches, and all cleanup for $3,850. And he's also got plus tax. So $3,850. This bid came in from JC Landscape and Maintenance from Davenport. Again, this is for all of the trees and the brush and everything. The net bid here is $4,200, $4,200. And that's the only 3 bids that we have.
okay.
For the commission's question is, have you worked with any or all 3 of these before?
Steinis is the only one I know of.
Okay.
The other 2 I do not know at all.
And happy with the performance?
Yes.
Okay.
Just a little slow on billing.
Well, that's not an issue. If it's in within a year, that's a year, that's what we have for a policy, procurement policy.
And what happens if it's not within a year?
No avoid.
We don't pay it.
You just,
I think we have an outstanding bill from him yet.
Our policy, we adopted a policy because of that. We had a bill come through, it's been several years ago, that was significantly, you know.
6, 7 years
Yeah. Oh,
accumulated. over-
Yeah.
I mean, they were just small stuff from a certain
so
shop,
we
but it's
adopted a
like-
policy that from a year from the date of service, we will pay that bill. After that, we will not.
So do you want to review those bids? Or are we ready to make a decision on them?
there's such a price difference.
I don't think so.
I think it's in the agenda for next week.
I think
to-
it is
Okay.
too.
to
So I
add.
don't know if you want to look at what the bids say and we'll take action on it next week.
Okay.
I would make note when you send whoever, I mean, sign us the bill, the approval that the policy of, you know, it needs to be in before the end of the year.
Most
So
people don't read that, but it might be nice to give out of personally, just maybe give
Maybe
them a
just
call
call
and
them
say, this
and
is
say
our
that.
policy, yeah.
But put it on
And we'll see.
your invoice somewhere
We'll be
too.
out there so we can just tell him.
Yeah. But when you do send them an invoice, make sure it's on the invoice. I mean, just that one line and nothing else, just so they know.
Okay,
Alrighty,
thank you very much.
Thanks, Kim.
Yeah, at this
So-
time, okay,
Do we need a motion to discuss
accept
that
the
next
bids.
week? Well, accept the bids and just make a decision next week, or is that just?
That's
It-
on.
I know that it's on the agenda for next week.
Okay, yeah, I see.
Yeah. So at 9 o'clock next week, she has down award bids.
So we'll just review the bids.
Yeah.
This time we'll be joined by Todd Kinney, our Jackson County interim engineer. Good morning,
Morning,
sir.
Morning.
Morning, Todd.
quite a spread
Yeah.
in the bids.
Stuff. Okay, so let's get the mundane stuff taken care of. There's 3 permits, working right away permits. Windstream, Coconut Valley Co-op, 2 of those, so unless you guys have any questions about them, providing service. It's either, most of them are, looks like they're all boring, some are, one's just a crossing, the other 2 are going in the ditch and then crossing over the road.
Being recommended for approval.
Yes,
So moved.
A motion and a second to approve the utility permits for Windstream, Macocata Valley and Macocata Valley. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carried.
okay, next is the resolution for payment for the final voucher. This is actually it was the road we went and looked at with the candidates, so this is basically the release final payment, the retainage and close the project out, so.
And how did we come in on our bid, original bid?
You know, I'd have to look that, I'd have to look at, I don't know what that was, bid versus, you mean what they bid versus final payment,
Yeah.
or what our estimate was versus final payment?
Estimate final time.
Yeah, I'd have to check with Mike on that, back to you.
Well, it sure was an improvement.
Oh, my God, yes. Every time I run into somebody that uses that road, it's, oh, thank God you finally got it done. And I don't blame them.
I would second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the final voucher. All those in favor?
Aye.
Yeah, I did drive that road, and that's really nice.
It is.
Yeah.
Okay, next is the Rural County Transportation Program agreement for the city of Sebula. I have to be honest, I don't really, this application one came in prior to me being here, but it looks like it's catch basin box and curb replacement from the 100 block of Elk Street to the 1000 block of Elk Street. It's $20,000.
And Shanda was here and explained that, and we
Yeah.
approved that
Yeah.
previously,
Mhm.
so yeah, I would make a motion to approve the agreement with RCPD agreement with Sabula.
Second. There's a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Okay, and then last, I guess, for action is the funding agreement for federal aid on the 49th Street Bridge, scheduled for December letting. It's pretty, these funding agreements are pretty standard. It's on for December letting, and it's listed with a SWAP project number, so you may be one of, Jackson County, you may be one of the last SWAP projects. Anything let after December of this year reverts back to an actual federal aid number. SWAP, if you remember, is where they were gonna, you would program it as federal aid in the tip, and then using a swap number, the DOT would supplant the federal aid. They would take the federal aid and then they would put state road use tax money in it and become a swap project, and then not subject to the federal aid requirements. I believe December is the last date for those projects. After that, they're not going to do swap anymore because the DOT is getting so much federal aid, they can't meet their match with road use tax. Poor things. So,
Yeah. That's a
Clearly,
shame.
such a situation to be in.
So you need two agreement to that funding, could be the
Yes.
last one, is that?
Yeah, so basically a motion to sign the agreement, or however you guys do that.
So moved.
Second.
A motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carried.
Okay, and then if you recall, I think it was Larry, there's a issue with on 398th Street with erosion. We still haven't been able to get in contact with the guy. But in the interim, I met with Roger, we looked at it. Part of the issue is the drainage coming from the south down the hill in the west ditch is eroding the ditch, and you're starting to get some sedimentation of that kind of stuff. So it comes down the ditch, it's very steep, comes down the ditch, goes under the road in a culvert, then it drops straight down, and then he's put like a little standpipe at the end of our culvert that's where a lot of the sediment is starting to get deposited. So I talked to Roger, we put in 3 ditch checks. You guys familiar with those are? Yeah. So that's basically to slow the water down, doesn't carry as much sediment. The sediment drops out on the upstream side. So we can catch some of that and do maintenance in the ditch. The water filters through the rock. So we were gonna do that. And then before we did anything on the forest slope, which is adjacent to this guy's property, I want to talk to him first. So I told him we can do this now, but I don't want to do anything else adjacent to where he's done work until we talk to him. The other thing we could do is right now it's a rock slope with like packed in clay. I think the other thing we could do is seed that down and get vegetation growing there. That would help, but I don't want to do anything in there until we talk to him, so. The other thing, intersection lights. So working with Mike and Stacy, so we have a list of your current intersection lights, all right? And what I did was I had them pull together all the ADT or the traffic that comes into each leg of the intersection. So sometimes you have a 3-legged or T intersection, sometimes it's 4. So what I wanted to do was review where you have the smallest ADT per leg on average and have a light. So right now, you go all the way down to 60 vehicles per day at a leg of an intersection, which is extremely low for a light, in my opinion. So then we took the paved road, this is all just paved road intersections. We took the paved road intersections and looked at the average leg per intersection for the county leg only. So where you have a DOT intersection, we didn't count that for ADT. So the reason why I'm talking about this is we need to establish a threshold of where you need to have a minimum ADT before we put up a light. That's the bottom line, right? So right now you go down as low as 60 vehicles a day, down to 200 vehicles a day. In my opinion, that's extremely low for a light, but
So do we have stats on intersections like yours that have a higher ADT but does not have a light? So you say we go down as low as 60, that does have a light, but do we have a stats on, oh, that's what we're.
yeah,
So
so this
what's
one,
the highest one we have with no ADT?
with the highest ADT county leg that doesn't have a light is intersection of Bernard and West Bellevue Cascade Road.
Okay,
That's 743 vehicles a day,
and there's no light over there.
not according to this information.
And I would bet that there is a light there because when you're talking to Bernard Road coming north and south and the Bellevue Cascade.
Yep. And the West Bellevue Cascade Road.
When I go that way all the time with the bus, go to Cascade or Monticello, and I would bet there is a light
Well, obviously, we'll double check this, but this is based on, so there's a map that Stacy showed me, the map that has, because we pay the utility bills for these lights. The only thing that sometimes I know in Clinton County, there's intersection lights where we don't pay the energy bill for. And it just goes back to when a light was originally established, like I think if I remember correctly, like if we paid for the light to be put in initially, the utility company pays the energy bill. If the utility company paid to put the light in, then we pay the energy bill. So it could be a situation where the county is not paying it, but it still should, in my opinion, it still needs to be on our map.
Yeah, it
there. So yeah, so that's the only way we know it unless we're paying utility bill. I would bet.
I'm not gonna bet you. But obviously we would go
I
out.
mean, not that it's bright, because you have to get pretty close to see it, if I remember right, but I think there's a light there.
So that you got several, like you got one in Iowa 62 in Rockdale, that's 670 vehicles a day. Bellevue Cascade in Iowa 62, the Caves Road in 63rd Street, that's almost 600 vehicles a day with no light. So there's a lot of intersections that, in my opinion, should have a light before one that has, 60 vehicles a day or 200 vehicles a day.
Yeah, sure.
So, long story short, we'll verify where we don't have lights, but I'll come back with a policy saying, hey, here's the threshold. When you reach, I think it's going to be somewhere around 300 vehicles a day. When you reach 300 vehicles a day, and these other ones that already have a light that are less than that, obviously they'll be grandfathered in we're not gonna take out a light, but
So would speed limit come into play in that decision too, in that?
no,
threshold?
because typically these are stop controlled
Okay.
intersections.
So threshold does have just on ADT,
Yeah.
not on prior accidents for 5 years, 10 years.
So the only way, well, I shouldn't say the only way, if you're gonna look at an accident factor, you would probably wanna do that based on a VMT or vehicle miles traveled as well. So once you have a certain percentage of accidents based on VMT, you could use that as a threshold too. But when you get into a very low traffic count, it's hard to use crashes because you probably don't have a whole lot of crashes there typically. Typically you need traffic for crashes typically.
I
But-
mean, I talked to the landowner, the previous, or one of our last ones, and he said there were several accidents that had gone reported in that intersection too. You know,
Yeah, so if you
how do
don't-
you document? it?
Yeah.
Yeah, if they don't get reported, I mean, the other thing you could do, I mean, it's just money, right? The other thing you can do is just say you want all paved road intersections to have a light. I mean, that's a viable option too. I mean,
And roughly what is the cost of doing that?
I didn't bring that in with you,
You-
but I'm
you had-
just don't quote me on this, but I had Mike looked up the last time we did a remove and replace, and I believe it was like about $7,000 or $8,000. And I believe we're paying, I had Stacy look this up too. I looked up what we're paying for energy bills for all lights annually, and I think it's around $12,000 annually.
So you mentioned two different types of lights to it one time, I believe, right?
So this is not, there's what we call, the state has intersection lights, which are. They're much higher, they have longer mast arms. These would be destination lights. It would be a single pole typically put in the right of way of the county road just to identify the intersection.
Mhm.
Destination. It's not meant to light the intersection like you would see on another road.
So they have changed significantly, I imagine, too, with the LEDs and the da-da-da in the last 4 or 5 years, or?
Yeah, so the LEDs, they're super bright. But they don't, the light amount of light that they cast. Dispersion area is reduced.
Yeah.
So they don't light as big of an area, but
So you
They
can
do
see it
last
from a
long.
long ways away, but it doesn't have any light when you get there.
And I think.
but the intent of these lights is a destination, just to say, hey, where's the intersection at? Here it is, because you can see the upcoming light.
And that's good.
It seems like the new lights they're putting along Platt Street.
Yeah.
They're LED and it just comes down like.
Yeah, it's like a
this.
laser.
Yeah,
It just
yeah.
lights up right underneath it.
Yeah.
Well,
But
that report will be interesting, just to see where they're at, and, you know, and like I said, I've mentioned Bellevue Cascade in 62, and I took that to Chandra because that's a state highway.
so, looking
Sam
at
Schick, come back to me.
what I shaded was, I was kind of looking at, well, this is the lights I would say we propose we do, but you only leave out 5 lights, and 4 of those or 2 of those are, right at 300 vehicles a day. So if you grab those next to, you're only leaving out 3 paved road intersections that don't have a light. You might as well put one in every paved road intersection.
You were
Makes
talking
sense.
about Bernard Road and W Cascade,
Mhm.
correct? I believe there's a light.
Right there.
Yeah, there is a light there.
I can see it on pictometry.
So it could be a situation where that is not paid for by the county.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at, Bjorn and I were just kind of looking here, and as we look this up, you can see that the shadow of a light.
Yeah. So like I said, we would need to go out and make sure, obviously, that my guess is that it's not paid for by the county, so it's not on our inventory. But for this, obviously for this evaluation, we need to know where there's lights, even if it's not paid for by the county. And I need to find out if we're not paying for that light, how we can not pay for additional lights.
Yeah.
So then,
That's
did
gonna
I
say-
win that bet? Did I win that bet?
I said I wasn't gonna bet you. So anyway, I'll come back with a policy and I'll have to have, might just have Roger or somebody go out and just do a visual check. I know Stacy's not here today. But I would like to find out if we're not paying for it, why not? And I'm gonna assume it's a similar situation like we have in Jackson or Clinton County, where it depends on who initially paid for the installation.
A couple of nice farmers close there, maybe it's hooked to their meter or something,
That'd be nice. All right. So that was that was this. Oh, one last thing. So The DOT has to come and do a audit of our bridge inspection program. So this is the response from Eric Surata, who's the guy in charge of it, basically. He's a good guy. So he does a records review of 10 bridges, then he will come and do an on-site review and review, like, he'll take, I think he's taking 5 bridges, and he'll physically go inspect the bridges and rate the bridges, and then compare his ratings with our ratings to see if there's correlation, and, you know, they just talk about it. It's really meant, it's not meant to catch people, it's just meant to help make sure we're in compliance. So I read through this report, I think it came Friday of last week, and I've emailed Alex. There's quite a few things that need to get changed, and we need to have a written response, but there's a lot of load rating things, and there's a new standard or a new requirement that you have pile log information. So like the day labor bridges, if you didn't log what you put in the ground for piling, you have to, you can't do this plan ACE. You can't establish through a checklist through this plan A that your bridge is not scour critical. So it's vitally important that you can show that it's not scour critical. Otherwise, you have to have a scour mitigation plan, which we don't want to be developing for bridges. So anyway, so this will be and he's coming. When is it coming? He's coming this month to do his on-site. So I'll need to get through this. There's quite a bit of work that needs to happen here, because it's there's 3 or 4 items for every bridge you inspected that we need to get correct.
So you also, one of the bridges we looked at that looks like we're gonna work on soon, you had questioned maybe the rating of it because of the length and the size of it. Does some of that change too then in some of these reports?
Well, he only does 10 bridges, but so that one's not part of it, of the 10 he selected, but I rated that structure using the spreadsheet I would use for load factor, which is a different rating. There's different methods you could use, right? Each method results in a slightly different rating, okay? So I rated it the type 4 truck, which is why that's posted, is for the type 4. It's a heavier truck with a shorter wheelbase. I think they rated that at 22 ton, if I remember correctly. And that's a 1 rating, even though it's probably legal for like a semi truck trailer, just because of the length of the spacing of the axles. So my spreadsheet shows that it should be posted, but it could be posted a little bit higher. But what I was saying is, if that bridge is 20 to 22 foot wide, you rate a bridge for 2-lane loading, right? 2 trucks on the bridge at the same time. In all reality, that would never happen. Very seldom, if ever. So what we typically do on a gravel road with a narrower bridge, on a gravel road, we wouldn't do this on a paved road, obviously, but a gravel road, narrower road, we would put up signs, say 1 lane, or mean 1 truck on the bridge at a time. And it's a posted, you have to do a resolution to do this.
Sure.
In Sims, it becomes a 1 lane or 1 bridge, one lane bridge posting, basically. I have to go into Sims and do that, and now it's legal for 1 truck, 1 fully loaded truck and go across it. So you don't have to deal with, well, you know, you still have to put up signs, but people can still use the bridge 1 truck at a time over the bridge.
So which relate with this bridge, right?
Well, it's gonna get replaced.
Yeah, I know, I get it, but it's easier to put up a sign and replace it, but.
You know, we got more important babies to feed, you know, it's, you know, I shouldn't say it's not that important. It's important that we correct what we can, but we have to look at all the aspects, like you're saying.
Right, so does it still need to be replaced? Yes. Does it still need to be posted? Yes, but there's a different way to post it to keep the traveling public less inconvenienced by it. So I wouldn't necessarily take it off, but you could go back, we could go back and look at some of the postings if you want to do this, but I would only do it on a narrower bridge, on gravel
I
only.
get it,
Yeah,
you know, but to say, and I've traveled that road many times, and when we go that way empty, but we won't come back that way loaded, because we never thought we were legal, we go north.
yeah. I mean, there's other things you would want to look at. So if I remember right, there's a little bit of a hill coming down from the
Yeah.
west.
Yes,
there is.
So you'd want to have decent sight distance. So like I'm a trucks, you know, Larry and I are both driving a truck. I'd want to be able to see far enough ahead that I could either slow up or speed up so we're only on the bridge one at a time. If I come popping over a hill and there's a truck just ready to hit the bridge, you're kind of out of luck.
Well, if he's driving, pull over.
Larry is. So I just think it's an option when we start looking at bridges for posting.
Yeah,
That's something we need to consider instead of putting up a tonnage posting.
okay. Major issues after the rain?
Huh?
Any major issues after the rain?
Not that I've heard.
Washouts, I
Yeah.
heard the boys fixing here and there, but nothing.
What, I just was talking to Mike earlier this morning and we got some staffing gonna be taking some time off. Some are just regular vacation, some are due to some health related things. So we're talking about so if you have an emergency after hours, you say, we have the same, you have a call list that 911, they call down the list. Well, the top 3 names, I think, on the list are gonna be gone. So we want to make sure the 4th name is still there. I think it's the 3rd or 4th name, might be the 3rd name. And then I was gonna add the shop foreman too, and then Mike's name as well. And then when, I don't know if I can say his name, when the assistant engineer starts, we'll add his name as well.
Okay.
Is it official? Not yet.
Later,
10
It's on the
minutes?
agenda.
Okay, all right.
at 9:30.
So
I'll wait 3 minutes.
that's all I got for you. Let me check my notes.
South Main, coming, good.
Yeah, I drove through it this
They
morning.
swapped. Did you
Although I
drove
missed
on
the
the new
light.
side?
What?
You
Yeah.
drove on the new side.
I did yesterday.
Looks nice.
Mhm.
So I
That
don't,
was
I'd have to look back at the
Monday.
old plans. How much I know they're doing quite a bit of approach paving on the north. Are they doing much on the south? Are we doing much of that paving?
I thought they did some of that already, but I haven't been down
I
there
think
more than
most
once or twice.
Well, they've done it on
No,
the
that's-
north side for ways, almost up to the
Well,
restaurant.
that's actually the trail.
But all that paving's getting replaced, correct? Not just the trail. And to me, it looks like it's all getting replaced.
The part you're driving on is the trail, the whole new part. The highway part is what they're building now.
Yeah, and it's all getting replaced,
But
correct?
that's just the west side of the highway.
The west side is what they're tearing on now.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
east side is done. I think. There's a trail like Larry's saying, I think, and then I think part of the northbound lane is done as well,
Okay,
I think.
okay, the trail's supposed to be 10 foot wide, and that's wider than 10 foot.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, part of that is the bridge part.
So, yeah, that'd be a nice project to get done.
Well, but it really has, I mean, I think the traffic is still moved.
I haven't heard any complaints. I don't know, guys in town. like-
I've only missed the light once where you sat there was a long
Oh.
enough queue and,
Oh,
You're lucky.
huh?
I think I've only made it once.
But I don't go through on a red either.
Don't
so.
you have
I
a
don't
flashing
either.
light on your car?
No, I got LEDs in the brake lights. People ignore that.
Just go
So.
like how the guy behind you turn the lights on for you.
All right, that's all I have.
Okay,
All right.
You got a bunch of signatures.
Thanks, Tom.
Yep.
I'll bring them over when I'm done.
Thank you.
This time we'll be joined by Marty Goodlett, Jackson County Maintenance Supervisor.
Good morning.
Morning.
Things I've been working on, I actually took the guy that's gonna replace the concrete over there in Penrose, went over there and looked at it. He thought it could be done. We added a little wall between the sidewalk ramp and the building, so that any water that does come down there keeps on going instead of into the, I'm gonna call the flower garden or the, all right. The recorder's office, I hung a couple of the brochures rack that we got from the hospital. I hung in her office. I think she okayed that with Lisa that she took them. Toilet repair down at the senior citizen is an ongoing project. I've been down there fixing toilets again.
So is it the toilet or the plumbing?
It's the
actual
flush handle. They break them off.
Really?
I don't know why, but
You get a push button one?
I think they ought to have one when they get up and walk away, it flushes, but they all have tanks, so I can't do that. The assessor's office, I took down and replaced 3 fans. On my hot water heaters, I put a ball valve on the drain, and then I flush them out every so often, so they don't fill up with lime. The one in the Penrose was leaking, so I replaced that. I went with the sheriff in his office. He would like maybe the possibility of putting a window from his office to where the jailers are that slides back and forth. We looked at it. I thought it could be done, and he's gonna think about it. And then if he decides to do it, then he's gonna come talk to you folks to make sure we get the okay to do it, okay? I took the garbage disposal and all the plumbing and electrical at the senior citizen out, because the garbage disposal, I think because they don't use it enough, won't stay running, so they said they don't need it anymore because they don't cook food there. So I took it out and put just regular plumbing back up to it. The dump truck, the red one, the one I liked a lot, had a recall on it, so I took it to Brad Deary Ford out here. They fixed it, seems to run good. I removed Luann's countertop, put it on the other side.
That looks good.
Yeah, made a lot more room in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Made a lot less in here.
Not that much. The day after the rain, I got a call from the senior citizen gal, Shannon Weber. She had water on the floor in her office, so I went down there and looked at it, and it was. So I went outside, and here the gutter must have been full, and then it tipped to the inside and dumped all the water right by her window, and then the dirt's right level with the window, or not the window, but the bottom of the building. So all that water went there, and I think it went in, and so I got a ladder out. Half of the hangers that hold the gutter in place from the roof, there's a strap, and it's got a pop rivet here, were broke. So I fixed all I could with the ladder, but the shrubs there, and I can't get them, because I tried doing it from the roof down, but I can't hang over like that. So I'm gonna need some kind of a lift, maybe, or something to lift me over the shrubs. And then checking, I went around back, took the ladder around back, and the back was completely plugged, that full of water. There was a pop bottle in the one end and weeds growing in the other end. So I pulled that out, and we're gonna have to do the same there, because most of them are popped and it's starting to sag down. So that's something
Is
that,
there a driveway around that building or not?
yes, it's parking lot all the way around it. The only place I can't get it with a ladder is right where the shrubs are, west of the vestibule in the front of the building.
So we don't have a bucket truck, or county don't have a sign truck or the bucket truck that would.
I think they got the sign truck, but I don't know if it would go over that far. They had the forklift back in the day. We had the forklift with a bucket basket on, but I was told the other day we can't use it anymore.
Yeah.
Okay, because it wasn't OSHA approved.
No,
So
Well, I could bring my lift down if you want to use it.
that would work slick. We could just drive along there and do it, make it a lot quicker. Like I said, I can do most of it from a ladder, but it's just every 2 foot you gotta move or whatever, you know, you can only do so much. And then there's screws in the back that I've been moving them and putting new screws in.
I guess we just coordinate that.
Yeah, okay.
Just don't drink, it needs to be on pavement. You can't take it on the dirt. I mean, it's 4-wheel drive, but it's just so heavy. If you run
Right.
along with it, it's gonna leave tracks for years to come.
I think the concrete comes within 3 feet of the building.
We
We,
60-foot beam.
yeah, so we should be able to do that.
Yeah.
Okay. Apparently a refrigerator went bad at the sheriff's office, so I unloaded it or took it out, loaded it up, took it to the landfill. The door opener here on this door, I'm gonna call it the southeast door. I can't get it to work. Sometimes it works, sometimes it does not. So I haven't give up on it yet, but I might have to get somebody in there to look at it, because I don't know what's wrong with it. Usually it's the arm, somebody pushes it open and then the arm moves a little bit, so you adjust the arm, it works. I do that, it works a couple times, then it won't work again, so.
It doesn't stay open over there.
No, and it's the inside door too.
Yeah.
And you know, like we changed the gutter over at the Penrose, I put the downspouts in a different spot. After the big rain, I checked it and it was like 95% better than it was prior.
Okay.
I'm sure when we do the concrete work, it'll take care of the problem totally.
Mhm.
And that's about it. Mike's on vacation. That's about it I got.
The railing out here. Next to my parking spot.
The board.
Yeah, it looks like it's about ready to fall down. And when that goes down, there's nothing.
I will take care of that.
I don't have to use the board or a pipe or whatever it takes to
Yeah.
get something in there.
I looked at the septic field again the other day. It looks like we've got really good growth out there, so maybe you want to coordinate with Jared to cut that with the brush hog, maybe first time or something, maybe.
Okay,
I don't know, you know, there's some water retention wattles in there too that you want to be careful.
is that the things here you're talking, the straw things?
The tubes, yeah.
Okay. Yeah,
Are they-
So, but
do they
look
have stakes higher so you can see them if the grass gets too high,
what's that?
the vent tubes. So what you're
Oh,
talking.
yeah,
Oh,
you can
they're,
still-
the vent tubes are like
Oh, yeah,
3 or
you can
4,
still-
3 foot
Okay,
tall.
they're high enough.
Yeah,
So what I mean, let it dry out, of course, but let's get
Yeah.
that mowed before.
he has
fall.
not mowed it since we.
No.
Did that? Okay, I would have thought he'd have done that, but no. I
No,
will,
it's
I will work
It's
with you.
getting tall enough that we need to probably do something with it
All right.
before it gets out of hand.
All right.
So somebody brought up to me about the weeds at the jail site. Do we need to mow them
Well,
down?
the thing is he left that site so rough, we can't,
That's
we're
what I
gonna
said.
have to weed eat it.
Yeah.
You know, because he
Yeah.
just left it, you know, we were mowing it until he went back the second or third time and he just tore it up and, you know. I'll go down and weed it, but that's about all I can do.
Is there anything you can do with skid loader to skim it and level
I
it?
might be able to do that too.
Well, we shouldn't have to do that.
Right,
And
I
I don't know
agree.
who was in there last. Was it Clucky in there last or was it?
I can't, I'm assuming, but I can't say that for,
Who else would it be?
yeah. We, you know, it's got that, I don't know what them round thing, we used to weed eat alongside that and mow that, but he just tore it up and left it and
I think those
I'm not
should
taking
come out.
our lawnmower.
Those
down.
should be able to come out around the shed now.
If there's.
I
a
asked-
out there, they should-
I asked and I was told no.
Oh,
said I would get a hold of John.
Okay,
I
yeah,
did tell you no, but I will get a hold of John
Yeah.
to say, we have grass growing, can we take those out?
mhm.
Who seeded that? Who put them in?
I don't know who put them in, but I seeded around the shed, 3 sides of it. The east, north and south.
Maybe Clucky did it, but it was. it
It's
was
part of
on
the
Somebody
con-
erosion
it's part of the
control had to
contract
do it,
for
so I don't
erosion
think they-
control.
What's that?
Somebody that does erosion control would have had it done that day.
Yeah, I don't know. I went by there one day and all of a sudden there they were.
Well, we definitely need it leveled out. That's the
Yeah,
case. So
it's-
If it's their baby, then we'll find out. Are you gonna find out or you want somebody else to find out?
Find out what? That I can level out or take them up?
Is it their responsibility to level out or?
Well, somebody needs to find out, because I don't want to go in there and get yelled at.
Well, I think we should contact John.
So where are we at with cutting that bank back? We have the approval to do that.
Well, we have a contract. They have until,
So when's that going to get done? I mean, maybe,
well, that's up to clock. We have I think they have 2 years almost.
okay.
We mow on the east side the best we can. We stay away from that drop off just a little bit, just in case.
Yeah, it's kind of eroding away there with that.
It is,
Yes, it is.
yes.
Oh,
And I got the okay to take the skid loader down there and level that off and get rid of them weeds, right?
Well, let's, somebody's gonna take charge of contacting John and see whose baby it is.
Whoever does, get a hold of me.
Well,
All right.
let's decide right now who's gonna do it. I don't care.
I'm holding up a finger. Which one, how many are there? Fingers,
I can call him, but that's.
yeah.
Well, I think maybe we could just call him on the phone after our meeting today.
Yeah.
And we'll
Fine.
all be here.
And let me know. All right.
Okay, yeah.
Anything else?
Nope.
All right, thank you. Have a good week.
Oh, at this time we'll be joined by Becky Chapin, our human resource Director. Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
Okay, Assistant County Engineer position. So at last week's meeting, you authorized me to present and negotiate 2 employment offers to the top 2 Assistant County Engineer candidates. I've been speaking with both of them and do have an accepted offer back from one of them. The other one I will continue to talk to this week and see what develops, and hopefully we'll be back next week with more information on that. For today, I would ask for a motion to appoint Jaden Shekel as an Assistant County Engineer effective August 29th at a starting salary of $90,000 and to include other benefits as negotiated.
I would make that motion.
So second.
I would be happy to say all those in favor.
Aye.
Aye,
Yeah.
motion carried.
Yeah, that's
It
great
appears
news.
that Jaden might be with us, so congratulations.
Ah. If you're on there,
Yep.
Jaden.
Yep,
yay.
I'm
Hey,
here.
congratulations. Welcome aboard.
I wanted to thank the board, you, Becky, and Todd as well. I look forward to starting August 29th.
And we look forward to having you.
Thanks,
Thanks.
guys.
Great.
That was nice. And then on cleaning personnel, I have made contact with the candidates about the part-time cleaning janitor. The rate of pay for the position was set last week at $15 per hour. Today, I would ask for a motion to approve the hiring of Dennis Glaser as the part-time cleaning janitor effective August 15th.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to offer Dennis Glazer the cleaning position. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carried.
And then with Mike on vacation this week, that would be next Monday that Dennis will start. The hours are currently set at 5:30 to 9:30, so he can train with Mike in the mornings. And he is completely open to adjusting those as needed or permanently down the road if that's the direction that we need to go. So we'll get him in here the first 4 hours of the day to accommodate and get in a rotation and learn from Mike, and then we can go from there with that. So as far as that goes, if it is the board's desire to have the position under the Human Resource Department, I would ask for a motion to place the part-time janitorial cleaning position under the direction of Human Resource.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Absolutely. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carried.
2080 agreement with Clinton County. So we've been presented a draft 2080 agreement to establish a working mechanism between Jackson and Clinton for County Engineer Services. They presented a 28E with a split salary, benefits, and all that kind of thing. I did talk to Todd a little bit about this, about adding a 30-day notice if they were to terminate the agreement. And that was agreeable with them. So unless you wanted to discuss or offer any other changes to the terms, I would have Todd present this to his board for approval. And as long as they are okay with all of it, with the terms, they would send a signed 2080 back for us for actual action.
No, I mean, we had plenty of time to read it over, and
Yeah.
Sarah had looked it over, and
Mm-hmm.
it certainly looks as to our advantage to proceed.
And speaking with Todd, we had talked about the initial contract being the 1-year agreement, and then based on the makeup of the department at that time, we'll revisit the commitment.
Sure.
That's being
Yep,
made here. If we
absolutely.
need to
That's-
adjust,
I
then we can
mean,
do
that-
that before we
to-
renew.
To me, that is just a perfect position to renew it every year and see where we're at and see how things are working for us, you know.
For us and for them.
Yes.
Okay, so I will let Todd know that, and we'll put the ball back in the court, and we'll go from there. And then the last
We don't
thing,
need any action on that. That's just to do it.
right,
Yeah.
yep,
Yeah.
that's just if you wanted to present any different changes, then you'd have the option to discuss that. And make those changes. The temporary law clerk position. So last week, Sarah Davenport, the county attorney, was in to have a temporary position approved for a law clerk at $36.32 per hour. She had a prior commitment this morning, but I did want to let you know, she did make an offer for that position, and it was accepted by Shauna Ryan. Shauna will assume the temporary role this Wednesday, which is actually tomorrow, August 10th. And as soon as her law license is transferred to Iowa, she will assume the role of assistant county engineer. So at that time, Sarah will bring her in and present her to the board and the media. If you want to meet her in the meantime, she will start varied hours effective tomorrow until that license is transferred. So she'll be up in the attorney's office effective tomorrow. Again, Shauna Ryan, if anybody wants to meet her. Otherwise, when her license is official, Sarah will bring her back down for a formal introduction.
Sounds good.
Okay? That's all I have. Unless you have
Moving
anything.
forward.
Okay?
We'll
Thank
see you after a while and discuss office space.
I'll be here.
Okay.
I'm here.
Maybe go somewhere else. Do office.
Okay, next on the agenda is Alyssa Smith. And she's got a very light
I
agenda
know.
today.
All I need this morning is to approve the minutes of the August 2nd, 2022 board proceedings as written by Auditor Smith and authorize publication in the official newspapers.
I moved.
Second.
A motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carried.
And with Luann gone, would you like me to read your calendar? If not,
Sure, that's fine.
so the calendar for the upcoming week. Obviously, this morning, we're in our board meeting, but at 2 o'clock, there is a Mississippi Valley Workforce Zoom meeting for Jack. At 4 o'clock, there's the Macocata River Water Authority Zoom for Larry, so it's 4 o'clock this afternoon, and 7 o'clock tonight. Looks like Jack's going to the Andrews City Council meeting in Andrew.
Thrilled.
Yes, and tomorrow, looks like Jack is gonna be on KMAQ Just Talk at 9 o'clock. And at 11:30, has a Workforce Iowa Lunch and Learn through Zoom. Thursday, 10 o'clock is the Iowa DHS Council Zoom meeting for Jack. On Friday, Larry has at 10 o'clock a 7th Judicial Department of Corrections in Davenport. And next Monday, on the 15th at 3 o'clock, there is a Regional Governing Board meeting for Jack in Davenport at 5 o'clock. Jack also has a Mississippi Valley Workforce meeting via Zoom. And then at 7 o'clock on Monday night, Jack also has a Together We Build meeting. And then we're back here the next Tuesday for all, looks like some removing, getting the bids for the Codfish Hollow tree removal and Todd. So kind of I guess, is this a busy week or a light week, I guess? I don't know. Depends on who. Yeah. So other than that, that's all. It's like, I don't think I said your name, did I?
It's not as light as last week was.
Yes.
Last week was pretty.
Yeah, and that's all that I have for the board today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mhm.
I would add that at 1 o'clock today, Lisa and I are going to be meeting with Chuck Current to discuss potential. I got a call last week. They might be interested in selling the parking area across the street.
Oh.
And so we're going to meet with him and see what they might be asking for it. And come back to the board and let you know what we find out.
Okay, so how big an area is it?
Chuck said it was 1/4 of an acre. I don't know if that's fact or fiction.
I went out and I looked at it. I looked at the Beacon website. It shows, I can bring it up real quick.
How many
here.
parking spaces? roughly? Can you see that?
So does this include the old bank, part of the old bank
Yes.
parking lot?
Yeah,
So
that
who
is,
retains that now?
it is, it belongs to the
Robert?
Robert
Okay.
Abbott. That came with the bank.
Okay,
when
yeah,
we bought it.
I tried to, yeah, we talked about that previously.
Yes, we did.
So let's
Is there a
see.
price floating around yet?
No.
That's in
That's one of the
negotiation.
things
huh?
we'll probably be talking about at 1 o'clock.
So is the city up for bid on this too, or? Or have they been, they
No.
just offered it to us, okay.
If we're gonna buy it, I'm guessing they don't want nothing to do with it.
I'm gonna
Doesn't
say,
just use
there's-
it.
I'm gonna say there's close to 20 parking spots.
Okay.
And it appears to me that it is almost 72 by 120
Okay.
and 8,616.
So
square
just
feet.
south of that, that is owned by the city, though,
That's
correct?
Oh, yeah,
That's
the rest
city
of
parking lot.
the rest of it's all owned by the city.
Yeah.
Well, there's this little corner over here.
That's
Is that
part of
city
the
now?
bank.
So if you think about where the old drive up Jackson State Bank building was, that's what we're talking about. That
And there are pillars that separate the city parking area from that area.
Okay,
and there's no longer access from this parking lot to Platt Street, so it
No.
just has the one.
Just one entrance
One
off of
entrance now.
Second.
And, snow removal would be something that we would probably have to.
so it's the corner, it's not the middle of the lot, it's the
No, it's-
corner.
Oh, it's just the
Right.
corner one.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, all right.
Yeah.
I do remember that now.
It's pretty much designated off, yeah.
Mhm. Yep. So,
Okay, we do have Tony Amsler, candidate for House District 66 will be coming. He's due at 10 o'clock. That will just be in open session. It's not going to be a work session. And then following that, we will have a short meeting about workspace. We did get a letter from the court system making another recommendation as to usage of space. And we asked, I did have, I stopped in at the clerk of court's office and asked if they had done anything yet about the moving the computer terminal that's in that one office, and if they'd gotten a price on it. And they said no, but she would talk to them, and in the note it said that they were waiting till we had an opportunity to look at their next proposal before they did anything about getting costs on moving anything. So with that, we'll recess till we're joined by our state representative. We're being joined again by Todd Kinney, our engineer.
So your question about the 150th Street, our estimate was $1,012,627. Final payment was $1,086,079. So they were over by about 74,000, a little less than 74,000. So on $1 million job, I would say that's not too bad. Your lights, we would have split the bed. So yes, there's a light at Bernard and Bellevue. But the intersections have about a little over a quarter to a half mile between them. They're offset.
Okay, so there's two intersections we're talking about, North Carolina, or I guess it's still Bellevue Cascade.
It's still bad, yes. So you would have had
Well,
to,
I'm talking Bellevue Cascade and Bernard,
they're both labeled the same,
okay.
according to this map.
So the one to the south has a light.
Yes, the one to
Yeah.
the north. is
I'll
not.
bet you that.
Okay.
I'm not gonna bet you that. But I just marked on this map where we're gonna go out and physically verify where we've marked don't have lights. And then these will be the ones we consider for lighting, so.
Okay.
There you go.
So do you use, I mean, is everything going LED now, or do you still have some of the old mercury vapor ones?
Well, I don't think the utility companies typically like using those mercury vapor ones. I know their dispersion is a little bit bigger, but they're just not energy efficient and everything else. So we'll probably put up something that's gonna require less maintenance. Again, we're not trying to make it so you can see the entire intersection. We're trying to, as you approach an intersection, we're trying to identify where it's at, so you know when to slow down and turn, basically.
And these do have a sign, the T intersections, there's a sign on the other side in the ditch.
Like,
a-
The T one should have a double arrow, yeah. So, anyway, all that for reconvene, right?
We,
It's good information.
we officially have you an assistant, so
Yeah.
get work ready for him.
And he was online.
He starts the 29th, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I've talked to Mike, he's working on what I call a turnover file. Things that are essential tasks. And once I have that from him, we're gonna sit down and create a training regime. What we're gonna do, who's gonna do it, when we're gonna do it, kind of thing, so.
Awesome.
Okay, good. Nice
All right.
to have you.
Thanks.
Sorry.
Well,
It's
we're
all
still in
good.
session. We're.
Oh, hey, I got $1,000 from Mike Cap too. Did you know that?
You did not.
Yeah.
You did not.
Yeah.
Seriously?
What did you
Why
say?
wouldn't I?
For what?
Was I not supposed to?
That's okay. Somebody else is gonna get it.
Well, they need to get going. They
What
can get it next
are you-
year.
What are you gonna use it for?
We bought hard hats with it.
Safety? Oh,
Yeah.
safety, says safety.
Safety equipment.
Okay.
Who was gonna get it?
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Oh, maybe it does. So you guys take turns on doing it or
We
what?
kind of share,
Little
yeah.
competition.
It's
I like
okay.
competition.
You know what, it's all good. The main thing is that Jackson County received it.
Yeah.
We applied for it, we received it. It's gonna go for safety, which is a good thing. And I have no problem with that, it's okay, I'll lick my wounds and, you know.
I'm sorry, but not really sorry.
Yeah.
Where are we at with the Welcome Center?
I have talked with Bonnie Mitchell. There are a lot of knick-knacky things down there. Ask her if they would be interested in taking those to sell in their gift shop, their little figurines and stuff, which I don't think anybody has a use for. And she said, yes. I said there was some school books, there was a globe, there's a flag,
There's a nice wood stove in there.
yeah.
There's some
And the thing, that
valuable items.
I don't know what. who
Well, I don't know
the-
that we need to wait to get rid of all that stuff before we decide to put this thing on the market. We can have possession day when it's cleaned out or whatever, but I
Yeah.
think we need to proceed with it.
I agree. That's why I talked to her last week.
So,
And she said, yes, they would take anything that, like that. She said they just don't have room for desks or any of that stuff. And I don't know if, we told Tom that if he wanted his desk from upstairs for out at the interpretive center or over at the 120 at Robert's place. I don't know.
well, even if we did put it on the market, it'd be at least 6 weeks or so before transfer would be completed with title, work and whatnot. So how do we proceed with putting it on the market?
Would that be something like a tag sale or?
You mean the inventory?
Yeah. Or not.
Any of that stuff don't mean nothing to me, so you can do whatever you want with it. I mean, if
You
you
want
wanna
to have
have
a 2-day sale down there and just whatever we can get for it and let it go. Well, that way we don't have to move it again. And
I agree.
Well, I possibly I'll take Bonnie down there, have her look and see if there is anything that they want. As long as we have the artwork, that's the main thing that I wanted the county to make sure that they had access to. So I'll talk to Bonnie. Besides the city council meeting tonight, obviously tonight's Historical Society's board meeting at 6:30. So I have to talk to her this afternoon and tell her I won't be there for much of the meeting. But I'll see if she's available to go down there sometime.
I don't know, do we need a copy machine and some of that stuff here or what's that?
I guess-
have no idea how old it is or what it is either.
Yeah, it's not new.
Okay.
You can tell it's not new. And I don't know if the one is a kind of an old TV and the other one, both of them, I don't know.
So the
What
copy
about-
machine have any value to any departments, do you think?
And usually.
No.
So what about, do we want to possibly bring it up? What's the option down at the fairgrounds for, is that for the Historical Society? The one coming up? Oh, no, I was thinking of another one.
Is there one coming up for Together We Build again, that donated stuff or no?
Not that I'm aware of.
Oh, okay. I heard one on the radio and I thought it was for that. And then at the end of it, they said it was out here for friends. That's what I was thinking. But if we had one down there for that fundraiser, that could be a place to have it at an auction. Because that had a great turnout last time.
But with that being said, whatever the items in there, we can, at some point, we have to get rid of them anyway. So do we proceed with having Sarah say, hey, we're gonna put this property up for bid?
Well, we have to, first we have a public hearing. So that people will say, yes, we can sell it.
Okay, well, let's do that.
That's the first
Okay.
thing that would maybe put that on your agenda for next week. That we can
Set the
have a motion
public motion.
to
Okay.
have a public hearing for the sale of the Welcome Center.
And if we don't get respectable bids, we don't have to sell it. It's
No,
just
we
that
don't.
have Option to do that. if
So
we choose.
like, would that make sense to pull all that stuff outside down there and have an auction? Or does that work?
I don't think there's enough value there.
I
Okay.
don't,
worth
if
the time and effort.
if we bring the table here, that, to me, that's the best thing they have. Is their conference table, and we could put that in the conference room and not the community room, so. I don't know.
Can I go ask one other question concerning stuff? Obviously, we have stuff in the basement, and you heard Marty say that he talked to the secondary road guys. They don't need it for their department, but they would like it personally. We need to somehow clean out the basement.
Mhm.
So I don't know what kind of policy there is for that, but there's nothing of value down there.
I'm ready to take it out and get scrap metal price for it.
Yeah, I am too. So if somebody wants to do that,
I would think, put a memo out to any of the county employees, if there's anything down there that they would want. And
For sale, for a price, or first come,
What's, okay, downstairs, main floor, downstairs, upstairs.
no,
downstairs.
she's
no,
talking
no,
about
no,
down
downstairs,
here in the
courthouse.
basement of the
Oh, this-
courthouse.
Oh, this
yeah, the
basement.
stuff.
All
that-
those things that are lining the hallway.
Well, the cart's still lying underneath.
Oh, yeah,
that
no,
table.
yeah.
The what?
Yeah.
My cart, that real nice little cart. that's
I
mine.
wanted that. Yeah, put a memo up.
Okay,
Sounds good.
yeah, that's a little problematic, trying to notify the secondary road people.
They can notify.
Okay,
You wanna check that with Sarah first
yeah,
before you do
I
that?
can do that. At least we
Yeah.
have a direction. We need to
Yeah, yeah.
make a move on getting the basement cleaned up. I got an estimate to have on-site shredding. I estimated we're gonna have at least 150 boxes to shred. And probably that's gonna grow once I talk to a few more departments. We're looking sometime mid-September to do it. I actually thought it was a pretty reasonable price of $300 to.
$300.
Yeah, so I thought, you know,
I was doing the garbage for that.
well, I thought that was pretty reasonable. It's all confidential shredding. We're gonna do an all hands on deck from the auditor's office. And I just told them that we would keep feeding the shredder and someone would always have to be there to watch. But
The only thing I would say down there at the Welcome Center is
Keep them back.
there are 42 stackable chairs upstairs and they all have cushions
oh,
and back cushions. They're a lot more comfortable than those black chairs we sat in downstairs.
Oh, okay.
Um,
You know, the ones
And
that
I-
work in that, I mean, the extra chairs would use in the jail for the.
EOC.
Yeah.
Yeah. For meetings and stuff.
that's pretty cool if they're stackable. That,
Yeah, they're
Yeah,
all
that little
stacked
conference
along the
table.
one wall.
That little conference table upstairs would be nice for that down there too.
Well, yeah, I mean, the thing is, there's nothing that we're giving away yet, so we're just moving.
maybe we need to
forward.
go on tour.
Okay, let's go down and look and see what's there.
Okay,
We can tag it and have Marty move it up to the new shed next to the jail and it's there. There's room in there.
I don't know if I do that.
That's gonna be debatable.
You might get some
Okay.
backlash.
I was just gonna say, I think, I'm sure we'd get a
John
phone
wants
call
all
on
the
that.
space that's in there.
We're not in the business to collect miscellaneous.
It just seems like all we do is add and not subtract.
Yes, that's why I'm ready to get rid of the stuff in the basement. but-
Yeah.
Okay, we're gonna reconvene.
No, we've been,
We've been-
Oh, we've been,
Still.
oh, I thought we recessed and now we're,
Todd come in, we can.
Yep,
oh, that's right.
Mhm.
Okay, we're here to meet Tony Amsler. That pronounced right?
Good morning.
Yes.
morning.
You come right up here, Tony.
Super, can
He's
do it.
candidate for House District number 66.
I am.
Good morning, how are you?
Good morning
Yeah, I know.
again.
I've seen.
Would you like it? I have cards.
Okay.
Beware of Greeks bearing gifts. I am not Greek. Tony, nice to meet you. And I have these wonderful little pad, everybody needs a notepad.
Oh, absolutely. Jack Willie.
Good
Wait a
morning,
minute.
Jack.
How much value is on this thing? Cause I can't take anything that's
It's
99.
less-
This is maybe 20 cents.
Ah.
Thank you. Nice to meet you. Here we go. Everybody needs a notepad. You can play euchre, you gotta have that. Good morning. Nice to meet you. How are you? Well, thank you, everyone. I'm gonna keep it brief. I know you guys are busy and you have some work to do, but thank you for taking the time to see me this morning. As I mentioned, or as you mentioned, I am a new candidate for the Iowa House District 66. Just nominated just a couple of weeks ago. So I just started ramping up and getting out there and meeting folks. And one of my goals throughout the 2-county area is to get to some stakeholders areas. We're talking city councils, school boards. Last night I was at the Bellevue School Board, meeting the school board and talking issues with them a little bit. And of course, Board of Supervisors and any other groups that I can talk to that have an impact in the community and to find out more about the community too. So I want to give you a little background about myself, because every time you see advertisements for candidates and things like that, you don't really know the person. I'd like to spend just a minute or two just talking about myself, because I think my life experiences bring a unique perspective to the candidacy and possibly your representative. So, as you're probably aware, House District 66 is new, it's changed, it's all of Jones County and part of Jackson County. They left out Macokota
Coconut, Baldwin and Monmouth.
and those two other townships as well. So my focus is above that. But since you represent the entire county, I wanted to meet you as well. So one of the things I'd like to just start off with here real quick is to say that, yeah, I know that I was nominated by the Jones County Democrats, the Jackson County Democrats, and the Jones County Democrats, but oftentimes we're labeled different ways. I encourage you to check out my media, my website, social media, get to know me and the issues. We don't really need to get into some issues today unless you have some questions. Happy to answer them, but take a moment and get to know me from that perspective. Now, I grew up in Cedar Rapids. I went to public school and Catholic school, so I've experienced both of those as I grew up in Cedar Rapids. My mother raised 5 boys by herself, divorced early, and found ourselves in financial need. We're one of the first families to start getting the food stamp program that was initiated back during the Johnson administration. Before that, we went to the county courthouse and picked up some food. I don't know if anyone here remembers that process, but that's where I got my addiction to butter. Still do. I'm a veteran, spent 4 years in the U.S. Air Force after high school, then went to college. Been a husband for 45 years. My wife is a nationally and somewhat internationally renowned basket maker of willow baskets. Do a little Google search on Joe Campbell Amazon and you'll find what I'm talking about. She has 2 baskets in the Smithsonian Institute. She's one of those quiet people in the countryside that does great work, very creative. I'm nowhere near that. We have 2 adult children and now just recently a couple of grandchildren. So I'm busy into that. Our family does own 220 acres of excellent farmland outside of Jones County. We do rent that out, and I am active in the management of that with our renter. We're working towards a number of conservation efforts within that area. Been excited to see some things coming out of Polk County in the way of saturation areas and possible bioreactors, things like that. We're investigating those now through the Soil and Water Commission district in Jones County. So we're excited about working in that area and trying to keep this land good for the next generation. I'm a retired educator for 32 years, worked mostly in small schools. Started off at Maxwell Collins down by Des Moines. Our first big recession that I experienced back in the 80s, I got let loose from there and had to go to Minnesota, to Wanamingo. Ever gone up 52 towards Rochester? You get to Zumbrota, you hang a left, then you hit Wanamingo. Yeah, that was interesting time because in the early 1980s, the Des Moines Register was the place where you go to find a job in Iowa for teaching. Not a social studies job in the entire state. I ended up going out of state, then the recession hit there, and then we made a really tough family decision, said, where do we want to live? So we went back to Monticello. I was lucky enough to find a job at Lost Nation. So I taught there for 4 years, commuted, and finally got into the Monticello School District. I was elated because I actually had other social studies teachers to talk to before I was the curriculum director of the social studies department. So I had meetings with myself, and that did not go too well. So I was very excited about that and really enjoyed my time there. And when I retired from there, I got hired on by Grantwood AEA as a technology consultant to school districts, helping them prepare for exactly what just happened the last 2 years. teaching from home. Blended learning concepts, the use of the Google tools, a lot of things, and that was very satisfying. Teachers were jumping on that, and I think we helped as they progressed. And of course, when I left there in 2014, I went on to the private sector and started working with a technology company that is in the Monticello area. And it was a startup in 2007. I sort of watched its growth, and they just did a phenomenal job of growing. I was approached by the CEO and asked me if I would come on board as an account manager to corral all their educational accounts and to work with that. And I said yes. It was a great challenge because I do like a challenge. I like to learn. I like to go after things and learn things. And I have to say, Joel was a great guy. I can't believe he hired somebody over 55 to take on that job. And the average age of the company went skyrocketing after I got on there. All the millennials that worked there. So pretty much that's my background, where I am now. So I've sort of failed at retirement. I've really gotten into a lot of different things. I've been off now for a couple of years, volunteering at our food bank for the last 2 years and doing some other volunteer work. So now I'm applying for a new job. And so this position came up after the primary, and we talked about it quite a bit, and I thought this is something I can do. And there's a lot of reasons for running, and we can get into those a little bit later on, but I felt that I could make a difference, that I could involve people, I could listen to people. Most people that I talk to are often concerned that they're just not being listened to by the legislature. Being open, being accessible, answering emails, and being able to make a difference in that way. So I'm going to stop because that's my introduction to myself. And I suppose if we had a moment, if you have questions, I'm very happy to answer those questions. My only question to you, if you wanted to go into that direction, what are some of the issues that you see coming up that are important to the Jackson County Supervisors, as a body? But I'm certainly willing to answer questions as well, or we can leave it at that and you can investigate me at your leisure and to look through things. So I'll stop at this point.
Well, I appreciate the background. That's very interesting. Sounds like you bring a lot of good information to a position. And I think we need that. Sometimes we feel like we're just left out of the picture here once in a while.
I appreciate you coming in, taking the time to meet us anyway, and telling us about yourself and your aspirations. I wish you the best, and if you proceed to win, you will certainly hear from us.
Well, one of the things I'm encouraged about, and I've been involved in Jones County throughout the pandemic, is the technology now that's being used and being able to zoom in at any time. And I don't see how that would be a detriment to a board like yourself when you needed to talk to a legislator. Just hit the button, even if they're in Des Moines, they can drop into a meeting very quickly. I like that accessibility issue.
Well, the nice thing too is all of us are on lots and lots of boards and commissions. And with the pandemic, most of them turned to Zoom meetings, so you save a lot of mileage on your car.
Yeah.
Driving to Des Moines, driving to DeWitt, driving to Davenport, driving to Dubuque, sometimes to Cedar Rapids, Clinton, so the gas bill's gone down.
Yeah, we experienced that quite a bit as a technology director and as a Grantwood employee. We had a lot of miles to cover throughout the Grantwood area. We had like 7 counties to cover. And so to work with teachers and staff from a distance, that was really a very big plus. We were on the early edge of that in terms of video conferencing. Zoom became very, very popular because it was so easy. Hit a button, if you load the app, you're on. The back end, you didn't have to concern yourself with. Teachers love that part. So that was one of the things that we really pushed. A lot of Zoom was going on. We used the Google Meets. We used a number of other tools that were accessible as well. So you're right. And I think that's the wave of the future, being able to at least jump in and be aware.
It works to an extent. It depends on what committee, of course, it is and how long a meeting may be or where it may be. I still like to see people in person and either see body language or facial expressions and
Oh, yeah.
You know,
and
that,
see where it's coming from,
Definitely.
but, you know, some of my personal concerns myself going forward is with legislation is our jail system and some of the expenses that we incur. But that is above and beyond this conversation, I think that's for legislation purposes when it comes to that, and I will
we're in the
certainly-
process of just starting to
I
build
will
a new
certainly have
jail.
a, be outspoken when it comes to that, but, yeah.
And I think another area that I'm always concerned about is, and the legislators have done so much in the past several years about mental health and funding of mental health and they, you know, now they took our levy away for mental health, which is not a bad thing. But some of the rules and regulations they establish are a little difficult to swallow. And, you know, we have to have somebody on our payroll that is the coordinator of mental health services. And now we just got a memo saying that we can't pay and then get reimbursed. They have to reimburse it. I really don't know where the legislators are coming from sometimes. And the last 2 years, I've served on the Human Service Council for the Department of Human Services. And there's always a lot of changes now with the merger of the Department of Health and DHS. We're in the process of trying to decide how that board's going to be divided or put together. And so that's one of the things that we have our DHS meeting Thursday. So we'll be discussing some of those merger options. So lots and lots and lots of people's lives are touched by the Department of Human Services and the Department of Health. So
I've heard the same thing from the Jones County supervisors, a few of them who I know personally. That issue has been forefront, often referred to as mandates without the funding. that goes
Unfunded
with it.
mandates, yeah.
Unfunded mandates, and I'm not happy about those kinds of situations. If you feel it's important, somehow we have to fund it. Otherwise, it falls to the local level to fund it, hiring more people, and things like that, and people just don't hear about that. So somebody gets credit for it, but don't realize the cost is going on downstream, as it were.
and another issue that I think that our board has been concerned about for lots and lots of years, it's not going to affect me at all in the future, but it's the compensation board and the makeup of it and how they deal with it. I mean, it makes it extremely difficult for the Board of Supervisors when the compensation board does some of the things that they do. And I think that it would be much better to just eliminate the compensation board and have the employees of our county get their salary upon their work ethics.
What happened the last time the compensation board wanted to give the sheriff a 25% increase and us a 5% increase. And if we changed their increase, we had to do the same percentage
Which we did
for
do.
everybody. So if we wanted to cut his in half, we also had to cut everybody else's in half.
Is
It's
that
just,
because of that legislation?
Yeah.
No, well, part of the sheriff's was back to blue, but it had to do with the way the compensation board's always been set up. I mean, you have to cut a percentage, you have to cut them all,
Right. so-
elected officials.
Right, so when they were forced to make that
But
kind
the
of
sheriff's-
budget, yeah,
Recommendation was that they be, it's probably another conversation.
certainly, certainly.
It can be, yeah, it can go on for a long time, but there's reasons why and why not?
That conversation went on quite a bit in Jones County, and I listened. to
How
a
do you
number of them.
compare one to demographics to another and job duties, classifications? Different counties have different demographics, you know, and
And
different,
each,
different crime rates and different types of crimes, you know. It's just,
and I think tenure in office, you know, and there's a lot of things that should be a part of that decision, not just the title.
Longevity is certainly, means a lot to me, and experience means a lot to me. It's just not, you get elected, now you get paid this because your neighbor gets paid this. It's conversation to be had.
You bet. So more local control, more local decision making because of the unique.
I like to negotiate with my employees when I have the chance. And I think we're logical when we negotiate with our employees, so.
Very good. No, thank you very much for sharing those with me. Jones County also has a possible new jail on the agenda as well. So it'd be interesting to watch the two counties as they move forward. Now, that's already been approved and is in the budgetary process right now and moving
They've
forward.
Oh,
started.
actually, they've got the ground somewhat excavated and
Okay,
I thought it would be already in the process of being built, but it's not yet.
Officially, they started about a month and a half ago.
all right.
Things just aren't happening on site, put it that way. I mean, we do have a new building put up for storage and that's completed. And they've been stockpiling material and stuff, so that's good.
All right. Well, gentlemen, thank you very much for taking the time to see me. And if you do have any other issues you'd like to share, you have my contact information. You can contact me. And I encourage you to take a look at what I have up so far and hopefully we'll meet again down the road.
There's one other one. I sit on the 7th Judicial Board for Davenport. And when people are incarcerated, they lose a lot of their like Medicare and Social Security and all sorts of stuff they lose. And then when they get get released, if there's this process to get it back. And it's just leaves them in a dead zone where they're basically broke and
Especially with their medication.
yeah, and their medication's huge. I mean, we take care of that and they just get off that. And if they don't, it's just screwed up. I don't know how else you put it. They need to have an exit plan. I know we have some programs that are working on it. We're doing some pilot programs on drug court and different things where people are learning more about jobs and getting jobs and understanding. I know one guy was in there and he never knew how to make pancakes and stuff for his kids. So they're always buying food out of a convenience store, which is extremely expensive, but he learned how to make pancakes and it's just a change in his life to be able to do that stuff. I mean, that's life skills that he never learned when he was growing up. So we have quite a few different programs going on. That's really good.
So to make sure I understand, if I'm incarcerated for a certain period of time, sentenced, and I'm in the county jail, something like that, and I happen to be on Medicare or Medicaid or something, those benefits are dropped.
When you get out of jail,
Then when I get out of jail,
you don't have it.
right, I have to reapply.
Yes.
Yeah, and that usually, I understand, that takes months, sometimes, it takes time.
Mhm.
So there's a huge gap
Mhm.
in between, did not realize that.
Yep.
Okay.
Especially if you're on specific medications or even medications for mental health and all of that, that all stops.
So that's
When
not the
you're in
donut gap, that's the
When you're in
gap.
jail, it's all taken care
Did
of.
not know that. Okay, thank you for sharing that.
And it's basically what we're running down here is a work release program. We have about 170 in the program. We're running at 114% occupancy. And we were at 134% before the pandemic when we ended up releasing some people to get the separation and stuff. But we've got an old building, the cement block. I mean, it's vintage to what this building is here. We've been trying to get that replaced for 8 years since I've been on the board. Yeah. It's just, all they say, they don't have the money. Yeah.
All right, very good.
Yeah, I mean, my gripe is we get a $300,000 tax cut because they've got money left over. I'm like, wait a minute. We need this money to have a safe place for these people. It's just a disconnect there. I'd like to see more things done.
Thank you, Larry, for sharing. Appreciate it. All right, anything else? All right, that's, okay, thank you very much for
Thank
sharing.
you.
I appreciate
Thanks for
it.
stopping, Tony.
You have a good day now.
Yes.
You too. Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay,
Can we adjourn, where the other one's just a work session down the hall here, right?
it's just a work session down the hall.
I would make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
There's a motion and a second to adjourn the meeting. All those in favor?
All right.
Aye, motion carried.